Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my Candlelight Confessions from Darkness to Light. Last time I left off, I was telling you guys how I climbed out the window and went up to my cousin's house, and then the lady eventually called the police. And then, like I said, when the police came, they didn't have any type of missing persons or runaway reports or anything like that. So like I said, my mother never did report me missing or anything. So I ended up going into a foster home that night. And then the social worker or the caseworker asked me if there was any place or any relatives that I can go to. None of my siblings would take me because they didn't want my mother to get mad at me. My brother, the one I said that was a little bit older than me, and then the one that's a little bit older than him. Um, I didn't know how to get in touch with them at the time, so I told them about my auntie. Now, again, like I said, my aunt is the one that was my mother's sister, who, my stepfather knew or whatever. So they called her, and my aunt came and got me, or actually, they brought me to my aunt's house, and I stayed with her. And I was really excited because I was with my cousins. I have a couple cousins that I'm really close to now, that was living with my aunt, and I was just really excited because I remember that when we used to have family reunions and stuff like that, I used to really, really feel like the outcast because all the cousins would play with each other, and then I would be sitting over underneath the whatever that thing is called at the park. And I would be by myself, and I would always be sitting with the adults. I just always felt like nobody liked me, or like just everybody was playing with each other, even people that weren't really related, that it seemed like they were closer with my cousin. So I always felt really sad and alone because I felt like I didn't have any family. So it was cool for me to be able to go and hang out with some of my cousins. So I went over there, and when I got there, I was there for a couple days, and I don't know what ended up happening, but I went to school, and then the next thing you know, they took me from my aunt's house. So I don't know if my aunt told my mom or somebody found out that I was at my aunt's house, and they started talking. And the next thing you know, DFS came and got me and told me I couldn't be at my aunt's house. So I ended up going into a foster home or something, and I ran away from the foster home because I'm like, why am I here? I have family. Shouldn't be any reason why I can't be with my family. I didn't know that my mom had talked to my aunt. I just thought it was like some sort of mistake and that they just kind of took me. I didn't know that it was an actual conversation that my mom and my aunt had, pertaining to me living with her. But I ended up running away from the place, and then I ran away and went back to my aunt's house. And when I got to my aunt's house, my aunt was like, "What are you doing here? You can't be here." And I was like, really sad, because I was like, why can't I be here? This is what I'm thinking in my head. And then she was about to call the police for them to come get me. And I remember there was some bikes in front of the door. And she had a back door because, like I said, she lived in a plaza. If you live in St. Louis, you're familiar with those apartments. And I remember I just broke through the bikes, ran out the back door, and just start running down the street. Like, my cousins tried to chase me, or somebody tried to chase me. I was gone, you guys. And I ended up being on the streets for like a couple weeks or something like that before my brother, I found out where my brother was, and him and my other brother was living in the Cochran projects downtown. And so I went there with them. And I was there with them for a little while. I was happy, because I'm like, oh, I'm with my brothers. And they were taking care of me and stuff. I don't know what ended up happening with that situation, but the lady was really nice who my brother was dating, and she allowed me to stay there. So then a couple weeks later, while I was there, I met a couple people in the building, some girls. It was this one young lady I met, and a couple other people on the third and fourth floors. I think that's how many floors it was. And they were like super nice. I had never had any friends before because my mom always kept me in my room. Like I didn't have any friends. I really didn't have anybody that I could socialize with. So it was new to me. To meet just different people from different backgrounds and stuff, and it was some really nice people. So anyway, a couple weeks later, my brother comes in and he's like, I got a surprise for you. And I'm like, what? And it was my twin brother, and I was so excited. Like, we start hugging each other, and I was just so excited to see him. He was like, I miss you. I was like, I miss you. And one of my things when I was younger, because music was like always a big part of my life growing up, because if you lived in the 70s, in the 80s and stuff like that, you had the record player, and you had songs like Michael Jackson, Lady in My Life, and just different stuff like that. So I always loved love. I always loved love songs. It was like a big connection to me. And one of my favorite groups was Troop. And I love that song, Spread My Wings. And so my brother was like, every time I heard that song, I thought about you, and I started crying, and I wanted to come be with you. So I guess my brother went and got him. I don't know exactly what happened, or if he ran away. I'm not quite sure, because, like I said, that was a long time ago, and I never really knew the particulars. I didn't really care. So we were in the Cochran. We were doing good. We was hanging out and stuff like that. And then I remember I started hanging with this girl. She lived up on the top floor with her mom. Her mom was so beautiful, and she had 3 daughters. And one of her daughters, well, actually, I think all of her daughters, are except for one, their dad like owned a clothing store and stuff like that. So everybody knew them and everything, and they was just the sweetest family. Like, they were really sweet to me. But because I had never really had any friends, I kind of sabotaged that a little bit. You know what I mean? Not purposefully, but it was just kind of, certain things that I was doing, and not really understanding how to be a friend. Anyways, I'll get back to that later. So my brother, he had us, he was taking care of us. And my mother, some kind of way, got wind that I was living with my brothers. And so they sent the police over. I ran away again. Me and my brother ran away again. So then they put me back into another foster care home, and I ran away from that foster care home again. And so now, since I know where I can go, I will always run back to the Cochran all the time and go and hang out with my brothers and stuff. And I remember we used to go to Union Station. That was a big thing back then. There was like a Burger King bus station or something like that. We would go in there as like a bunch of kids from O'Fallon Place and just different places in St. Louis would meet up downtown and go to the McDonald boat and just different things like that. So it was like a really cool experience for me at the time, because I had never experienced that. Now I'm, just experiencing life like I've never experienced it before. So one day, my friend, she I'm not quite sure exactly what happened, but I started hanging out on the other side of the projects on the high rise end, and I started having people over there that I knew and stuff. So it kind of got, because those parents on the lower end, they didn't want you to go over on the other end of, so my friend wasn't able to go. So I would go there all the time, there was different types of people over there. Like, it was, I don't know what it was, but it was just a different in situations, I guess. And so when I would come back over to the other side and be hanging out with my other friends that I knew, by that time I had already started, like, I guess, trying to fit in. And I guess the situation wasn't really a good situation. I'll just say that. So the friendship kind of got strained a little bit, not on their end, but on my end, because like I said, I was already dysfunctional, because of what I had experienced with girls and trying to jump me and stuff like that. Like, I just kind of got, I wouldn't say savage, but the attitude that I had was a little bit different. It was like I was learning to be street smart, but it wasn't really being street smart. It was like really sabotagement is what it was, because I would always do little things and just not be the best friend. So, anyways, my mother got wind of me being back down there again, and then the police end up coming to get me. And this time, they put me in a group home over off of in Overland somewhere. I think it was called Worson House, and I got to Worson House. I had already planned on not staying there. It was a little bit different of environment because the girls pretty much had their own room. You had to fix your own food and just different things like that. This was a new experience for me because, like I said, I'd never been in this situation before. I was still resentful because I'm like, where's my family? Where's my siblings? Why aren't they here for me? Why aren't they taking care of me? So I was really resentful and angry. Well, anyway, I met a young lady while I was in there. She was I think she was my roommate. I don't know, but she was, me and her got really, really cool. And I had already decided that I was going to run away. So she was like, she's going to run away too. Like, we both decided that we were going to run away. And I was like, we can go with my brother down in the Cochrane. She was like, okay, cool. So we ran away and we went down there together. And everything was fine. We were cool. She met people down on the one end, met people on the other end with me. She also introduced me to her friends. They lived in Berkeley. It was this one guy I really, oh my gosh, I really liked him a lot. He was a little bit older than me, but he was real protective. Like, I could tell that he cared about me. You know what I mean? He was in a gang and everything. I think he was like a GD or something like that. That was her friend. I mean, I guess she was from Berkeley or she lived in that area or something, so she knew them. So we would run away, go over there. We would be over there. We would be in the Cochrane. So anyway, my friend was dating this guy. I'm just gonna call him D. His name started with a D, and I know she liked him. She was he was one of those type of people that liked young girls. Like, I don't think he cared. Like, he just was whatever with him. But he was an older guy. I don't know. Maybe he was like in his 20s or something. I don't even know. Maybe 19 or 18. I don't know. But he was older. And I remember we both, I don't know if she got caught and she went back and ended up staying with a relative or something like that. But anyway, I'd heard a rumor. And instead of dismissing the rumor about him and her, and I had no clue about it, I didn't know anything about it. I knew they hung out, but I didn't know exactly the situation. Instead of getting the facts, I spread this rumor to her friends, and it devastated her. You know what I mean? And she wanted to fight me. Like, and I get it now. Like, I understand it now. When I was younger, I didn't, because I'm like, well, why are you mad at me? But that was wrong. You know what I'm saying? She was supposed to be my friend. And again, I didn't know how to be a friend. So anyway, it started getting real bad because she had some people that she was hanging with, and they were trying to fight me all the time. And it got really unsafe. So I remember this guy told me, and I don't know if it was somebody she knew, but he was like, "Oh yeah, they wanted to do something to you," and because I used to on the higher end, I used to be hanging out. Me and a couple people, we would go into the little laundry room and hang out in the projects. And I remember one time I was in there and I didn't even know that this was going on, but there was some girls looking for me and they were talking about they were going to cut my face up and some other stuff. So I'm just really glad that it didn't happen like that. But I always had like strong intuition, so I could feel when something was not right. And anyways, me and the girl, we ended up getting into a fight, and I ended up leaving the Cochrane. I didn't see her anymore after that, and I stopped going down there because I'm like, it's unsafe down here. Because even without that situation with her, the girls would be mad because the guys wanted to talk to me. And again, because I guess of my nationality or something, so I would always have like this target on me or whatever. So, like I said, I sabotaged a lot of relationships. I remember I stole my friend's the one that lived on the other end, I never really had a lot of clothes, and so they used to always let me use their clothes and stuff. And so I remember I didn't have any clothes, and her older sister had this really cute outfit that I saw her in, and I took it. And so, I was pegged as, a thief uh, by people. And I didn't really like that title because in my mind, I didn't feel like I was really doing anything wrong, but I was. And that was something that, just really was embarrassing for me at the time because I really liked this girl. Me and her stopped being friends after that. And then the other girl, me and her stopped being friends after that. And I never really seen them again. So, anyways, long story short, my mom, oh, I was somewhere. I don't know exactly where I was. And my brother got into it with the lady that we were staying with. So, we ended up having to move and go to this. We were like living across the street from O'Fallon Place. It used to be this big building. I don't know, it had like a brick wall around it. I think of Vashon High Schools or some high schools right there now. I'm not sure exactly what the high school is. It's off of Cass, but me and him and my twin brother, and I remember my brother was working at this little store right next to O'Fallon Place, and he used to work in the little kitchen area where they did the meat and stuff like that. And I want to say my brother was probably about 17 or 18 at the time, so really he wasn't even old enough to be taking care of us, but he really tried his best to do that. So me, at the time, I'm like, I'm thinking I'm grown, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just doing whatever I want to do. I'm feeling free. But my brother was like, no, we got to have some rules. We have to have some regulation, whatever the case is. So I don't know. I think I left and didn't tell him I was leaving and he was working. And I ended up, he came back and he was going to whip us. And I remember like, here we go again. You know what I'm saying? With this whipping stuff, and even though he wasn't going to be beating on me, it was just the fact that there was going to be some sort of physical situation. It scared the mess out of me, and so I ended up jumping out the window, climbing onto the roof, and me and my twin brother left together. We left together. I don't remember where I went, but I remember I was on the streets for a little bit, and then eventually I got caught again by the police. And when they caught me, I went to the city detention, and then they took me to juvie, and I was in juvie for a couple of days, and then I ended up going into another group home somewhere, like I don't know where it was, but I can't remember. But anyway, I got there and I started going to school and I started being a little bit different because, after that particular situation with the girl and how I was, I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to, be that type of person. So I'm like, let me change this because, I don't really want to be, not having friends. But again, I still didn't know how to socialize. I still didn't know how to be a friend. But I was learning, this was all process or whatever. So I was there, everything was great. And then I missed my family. So my sister, I have one of my older sisters. We don't have the same mom, but the same dad, but we have the same mom. And some kind of way I got in touch with her and she started letting me come over to her house, and she lived in South County. So I started going over her house, hanging out. And by this time she was married. And she had one of my nephews and nieces. I hadn't seen my family in probably some years while I was on the run. And so I went with her, and I was like wanting to live with her, but I couldn't because, again, she didn't want my mother to be mad at her. So I ended up going back to the group home. And again, I'm resentful. So I'm like, I'm going to run away again. You know what I mean? I'm going to run away. I'm not going to stay here. I can make it on my own in the streets. These are the things that I'm thinking about. And I'm sure that these are some things that a lot of runaways think about. They're not clear about the dangers that are in the streets. You know what I mean? They're just wanting to get away from their situation. And that's where I was. So I ended up telling some people in the group home, like, oh, I'm running away. and they were down too. Like, I don't know, I think it was around Christmas time. So we were all in the same dorm, and because there was a guy's dorm and then there was a girl's dorm across the way, and then the school was on the other side. So when they came to us, it was this guy, and we were like, we're gonna run away. So we all ran away together. Like, we jumped out the window while all the people with the grown people was upstairs, and we left and we hid in this little ditch or something in the woods until we saw the police going past them. When we thought the coast was clear, we started walking down Lackland. As we're walking down Lackland, it's like ice on the ground. Everybody's slipping and sliding. Like, we're having a good time. We're just trying to get where we're going. All of us is trying to figure out where we're going to go next. Um, and then the police ended up catching us. They saw us walking. I guess they had already reported all of us missing, because it was probably like 5 of us that ran away. And so they reported us all missing. And I guess the police saw that it was us. And then they ended up catching up with us and took us back to the group home. I ended up running away again. When I ran away again, this time they were like, um, the group home didn't want me back no more. Like, they were like fed up, you know what I mean? They were just tired of me running away. So I kept on sabotaging every place that I went, or whatever, like, you know, group homes and foster homes, like places would take me back because I was running away. And then I was also inviting other people to run away with me. So they were like, no, we can't have this anymore. So I went to another place. I think I went to some sort of little facility. I can't remember where it was. Then I ran away from there again. This time when I ran away, I was probably on the run for like a month or two or something like that. And there was always, like, one thing about being on the streets, runaways, we lie about our age, like, because we knew that we couldn't say we were a specific age. And I looked older than I was. I talked older than I was, so people always believed me when I said I was just a little bit older. I just always said I was just old enough where I wasn't too grown, but I was, you know what I mean? So, anyways, I would hang out different places, and I would have a lot of friends in different places. And then I started hanging back out in the Cochrane again on the other side. And one day I was in Union Station, and there was this man, like, he kept on trying to get me to come with him. And I was like, no, I didn't want to go with him. You know what I'm saying? It was just something creepy about him. Like, he was just really trying to get me to go with him. And I remember one time he saw me and he was like, what are you doing? You know, do you need a place to stay? Do you need a place to sleep? And different things like that. And my first mind was like, well, maybe I should take this opportunity. But for some reason, I just felt like it wasn't quite right. So I didn't do it. And one day I saw him, because I stopped talking to him, and I saw him like get off the bus, and he saw me, and I ran in Union Station real fast into the bathroom. And when I got in the bathroom, there was this girl in there, and she was putting on makeup, and you know, she was, and I'm like, hi, how are you doing? She's like, how are you? Um, and we just started hanging out. We just like hung out. And she told me she was 16. I'm like, oh, I'm 16 too. So, you know, we start hanging out. And she knew these guys from the east side. This guy, I guess she knew or had met. And then, so we started hanging out with them. They had a car. We went over to the east side, and it was like a high school, I want to say it was the end of the school year maybe for them. And they might have been seniors at the time. I'm pretty sure they were seniors. So they were having like a dance or something, and we went to the dance. They were showing us off, the guys that was driving. They were showing us off and everything, and they went to the school, and they started talking to this guy, and then we left. We left. Everybody else was at the school at this party, and these guys were in the car with them. They go to this house, and they tell us to wait in the car. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I waited in the car. We waited in the car. And the next thing that you know, they came running out with like arms full of cash. Like, they had like a bunch of money in their hands, and they told us to get out the back seat. We got out the back seat. They pulled the back seat because they had like one of those cutlasses back in the day, one of those kind of square shaped cutlasses, but the seats would pull out. And they made us get out, and they put the money inside of there, and then they put the seat back, and then they went and got us something to eat, and we were just riding around hanging out and stuff like that. So they ended up dropping us off back down at Union Station where they picked us up from, and we didn't see them anymore. So anyway, we ended up meeting somebody else that was from over on the east side, in Belleville. And so we started hanging out with them. And I don't know if she knew them through them, or I'm not quite sure, but we were hanging out. I wasn't drinking or anything or doing any type of drugs or anything. But they were drinking and stuff like that. That wasn't really my type of thing at the moment. So we were hanging out. And then one day, I'm going to say like a couple weeks into us hanging out, a conversation came up where she started talking about the guys and this money. And I'm just looking at her like, because even though I don't know what's going on, I'm like, because the guys were talking, I'm just like listening, and I'm knowing like this isn't a good situation. I don't think she should be saying anything. But again, that's how intuitive I was. So when she started talking about it and telling the guys about the guys and the money, and about the guys and how they came out with some money, the guys like was looking around at each other like, you know, and I'm just looking too like, oh my gosh, girl, you're saying too much. So I acted like I don't know what she was talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't with her when this happened. Like I completely took myself out of the equation. Like this isn't for me. So they took us to this house. They were like, oh, come on, we're going to go over here and hang out and stuff. So they took us to this house, and we got in the house, and there was a woman in there and a man. And I sat down in a chair, and she was sitting down in the chair. And then all of a sudden, the guy who was right there, he was like, now what was you saying about the guy and the money and blah, blah, blah. And so she started talking again. And they were like, where is he at? Where are they at? That was my money. So apparently the guys knew the guy who they came and talked to at the school. It was his house they stole the money from. I had no idea about this. She had no idea about it. And it was just coincidental that we ended up with these guys. And so they ended up like trying to interrogate her, right? So they went and got a pillowcase with books and stuff in it, and was hitting her with the books. And then the girl went and it used to be pressing combs that she put on the stove. She went and put pressing comb on the stove and was like, you're gonna tell us where they are? And she was like, I don't know where they are. I don't know where they are. I'm like not saying anything because I'm like scared half to death. I'm just like not trying to be involved in it so they can't do this to me, right? I'm just scared. I'm just looking like, oh my gosh. And the girl gets the pressing comb off the stove, and then she burns her in the head with the pressing comb, and she's crying, she's screaming, and they're hitting her with the books and all this stuff, right? So then the guy who was I guess they called some other guy who was friends with them, and I guess he was like a murderer or something. Like he was like a stepper or something. Like he was one of those. And I remember I went and sat on the couch in the chair, and she was crying, and I don't know what was going to happen. And the next thing you know, a guy busts in, and he was like, where are they at? Where are they at? And then he had like a bumpy faced gin bottle in his hand. It was like the big pipe, the bump. It was like really like, the bumpy face. And he just said, bow, and hit me in my face. And I just saw stars. Like, I didn't know what was going on. And then I heard somebody say, no, not her, not her. The guy who liked me, he was like, not her, not her. And then by this time I'm seeing stars. So they're rushing me out of the house. They're rushing her out of the house. And they're like, you guys gotta go, you gotta go. And he comes outside, the one guy that hit me in the face with the bumpy face bottle. He's like, and the one guy was like, just call me later, get out of here, get out of here. And the guy's like, man, I'm finna get them, let's just kill them, we can throwing them in the Mississippi River. And they were like, and they were just trying to get, the guy was just trying to get us out of there, like, because he knew what was about to happen. So one of the friends ended up dropping us off, and then we ended up going downtown because we were going downtown, and I had black eyes. You know what I mean? Like, I had two black eyes. And we were walking down, I want to say Pine Street or something. I don't know. Whatever street the OT Hodge Chili Parlor was on, we were walking down that little street or whatever. And downtown, and it was an older guy, an older man, and he seen us walking past, and he wanted to talk to the girl, and he called the girl, and she went in there. And then the next thing you know, she comes back out, and she's like, he said we can go to his house or whatever. And so I'm like, well, do you know him? She was like, no, but he said he's gonna give me some money and blah blah blah. So I'm like, okay. And again, I'm a kid, you know, I'm not realizing how dangerous the streets are because I've been at home, you know what I mean? And so I wasn't really understanding, you know, a lot of the things that were going on, and what she, you know, was involved in. So we went to his house, and I remember that they were in another room, and then he came in the room, and he was trying to sleep with me, and I was not having it because I'm like, no, I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I kept getting targeted by these pedophiles or whatever. So I was like, no. And so he got mad, and he said he wasn't going to take us back to the house. So we stole his car keys, and I couldn't even drive. She could drive. I couldn't. I literally learned how to drive at that moment when we stole the car, so that we could, you know, I had 2 feet driving, you know what I mean? I had ended up learning how to drive. I still didn't know completely how to drive, but she knew how. So she was doing all the driving most of the time. So we were all over the place here and there for like maybe a couple days. And so one day, I decided to go to my house because I didn't have any clothes. And so I knew that I had clothes in the closet at my mom's house. And I was like, let me just go over there and get clothes. So we drove over there, get clothes. I snuck in the window. I don't think anybody was there. Nobody knew that I came, and I got the bag of clothes and then put it in the trunk. I think my stepfather had like some pennies or something in a jar, and got the pennies, and we got back in the car, and we ended up going back downtown that morning. So we ended up going down to back towards the Cochrane. We were sitting there counting the pennies, putting the pennies in the penny roll thingy or whatever, and then we ended up going down some street on Washington, or some place downtown, because like I said, the older man lived down there. So we're at the light, and so there was this man, and he was on the bus stop, and he was like, where did you get that car from? We're at a red light, mind you. And he's like, where did you get that car from? And then my friend's like, it's my car. And then he was like, no, it's not. And he reached inside, because back in those days, it used to be, you could turn the car out and you can snatch the key out of the ignition. And even if it wasn't started all the way, you could still turn it. So I guess it was because it was when he didn't turn it off, he just snatched the keys out. And when he did, we were like, oh my gosh, and we were scared. He'd start telling somebody to call the police, to go to the payphone and call the police, because that was his car. So we're just sitting there, we couldn't move, and then something just told me to turn the thing. And when I turned it, the car started right back. So we skirted off, like, and then we went back down the Cochrane. We was sitting there, and she was like, let's go see what happened, like if he's still there, he's looking stupid or whatever. And being stupid kids, we didn't even realize what we were getting ourselves into. So we ended up driving back down the street again. And this time when we got down the street, because 20 minutes probably passed, we get back down the street again. I'm looking for him. I don't see him. But then the next thing you know, paddy wagons just swoop, whoop, 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 and crowded us in or whatever. And then they took us to the police station, and locked us up or whatever, and was questioning us. And then they found out I was a runaway. Come to find out, she was younger than I was. I think I might have been about 14 at the time. She was younger than me. I think she was 13. And I was kind of shocked to find that out. But that's what let me know, like, when people are on the streets, they know to lie about their age because they don't want to get caught up, you know, by the police or, I guess, certain people. So anyway, I never saw her again. I ended up going into detention, and I was in detention for probably about I'm gonna say a year. I didn't hear from my mom. I didn't hear from anybody. I didn't, I got into juvenile, and because I lived in the county, and that's where I ran away from. I ended up in juvenile detention center, out that way. And so I was in there for a couple months, and now I'm with a whole nother different type of level of people, because there was girls my age, or maybe just a little bit older than me, and they had been doing cocaine, having sex, like they were doing a lot of things, and I remember I was in there, and I didn't know what was going to happen. None of the group homes wanted me back. The foster home didn't want me back. Nobody wanted me back. So I was just pretty much stuck in there. And then eventually they put me in a DYS facility. I was in this place called Camp Avery in Troy, Missouri. I ended up there. And then I was there for a little while. So I'm going to end the video here, and then I'm going to come back and talk about my stay at the DYS facility and how that impacted my life and how that kind of changed my outlook on everything, for the better, even though I was a little dysfunctional. Every little thing, every little step, it seemed like I got a little bit wiser and had a little bit more understanding of things. But like I said, I'm going to come back. We're going to talk about the stay there and then the next situation. Thank you for listening.